necessarily have to be in it. It just as
Yeah.
long as he's in it good. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Over this last couple weeks, or maybe last month, I've gotten calls from so many different people asking about you, and everybody's been concerned. And I've been telling them, I mean, these things are almost normal. I mean, police harassment and these things have always been, they've always happened to you. And it's not even a surprise to me anymore. How are you doing, and what is your message to people about what's been going on with you?
That's a good question. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The good part of it is that whenever you face a challenge, it improves your behavior, it improves your focus, it improves your work. And also, the next good thing about it is, years ago, when they done these things in secret, and I'm the only one that saw, I couldn't speak to people about it. I couldn't educate them on it. And it would sound insane. But now, they do so much that everybody sees it. So it's much better. The other thing about safety, personally, my safety is better because they do everything outwardly. And since they do it outwardly, they can't do anything else. So now, as far as health, I run every morning, lift weights, hit the bag, and do all of that. So health is, in fact, I think for the last year or so, I've been having what I call age regression. In other words, I'm feeling younger, not older. I can't explain it. Younger psychologically, younger in everything. Like when you're young, you're a risk taker. When you get older, you don't take many risks. I take more risks than I did now ever before because I feel, that's the way I feel.
Right.
So that's why everybody hear what's going on and they panic. You mean they was all pointing the guns at you? I said, yeah, they was always pointing guns. To me, it was no big deal. But when I read it, the account of what happened, I can see how they feel. But I don't feel like that. I don't feel, they make threats, but they can't do anything about it. The way I feel about it is that when Allah got his hands over you, it's according to Quran, when Allah got something wrote for you, ain't nobody can do nothing about it. They can't help you and they can't hurt you. You see what I mean? So I feel like it's all in the hands of Allah.
But how do you keep such a positive attitude? Because the positive attitude that you have, to me, is the most incredible thing out of all these things that's going on, is the attitude that you have towards the snitches and the constant harassment and the police and all those things. How do you keep that type of positive attitude?
I think it's a gift from Allah, because I had it all along. And when I was younger and before I knew what it was. But now I know what it is. So when you know what your gifts are, then you can improve on them. I realized a long time ago, I tell my children so they understand. We was talking about that movie Divergent, about this girl.
Right.
She was different, so they tried to kill her, they do all that stuff. I told my daughters, I said, I've been divergent all my life. And I didn't know it until some years ago. I'll tell you why. This may not have anything to do with anything. When I moved from the South in 1951, I remember all our talks were about lynchings and hangings and all of that. That was the common conversation. In 1953, I was in the third grade. So in California, I used to write on the walls, somewhere I knew this made the system madder than anything. And I kind of must have known that I was in California and they couldn't hang me. I must have known that. So this is when I traced my history, I said that's when I realized from now that I was divergent. I just did everything that the system hated, because the system, something that was from Allah. It wasn't for me. Allah gave me the ability to challenge the system all the time. And if Allah gives you a gift, it's not hard on you. I relate to that same movie. Remember when they had another test on the girl? And this big girl that had beat her up had the same test, and they had to carry her out. She was all, and she went in, took the test, and wasn't nothing. Okay, because she was divergent. So if you're divergent, that means if I'm naturally against the system, that means when they tried to get me to cooperate with the system, the first time I remember was when I was 18, 1963, I think, 62 or 63. They told me, well, you're a nice kid and all you got to do is cooperate. There was a guy in this youth joint with us called Posey. Posey had a portable radio. This is in 1963, so it was a brand new thing. And he could walk out of ranks. You know, we had to march everywhere. He was called a drag boy. He was one of the big kids, and the system gave him what he wanted, and he would keep the other kids in line for the system. He didn't even know what was going on. Now, I was a big kid. Everybody liked me.
So he was a snitch and stuff? Or?
He was not a snitch. He was just a stooge.
Uh-huh.
They let him walk out of, they called it juice. He got dragged. He was a drag boy. It being the system and that company, he was a special kid. He could walk out of ranks. He didn't have to do the same thing. He could go to first in line to eat, all that stuff.
They get cigarettes and
The
whatever.
system told me, they said, you could be like Posey.
When you were in jail, they said
Yeah,
that.
I naturally said, I don't want to be like Posey. I didn't know why. I had no idea why I said it. I don't want to be like Posey. He has everything everybody wants. I don't want to be like Posey.
Yeah.
So that means that the things that I do, Allah gave it to me
Yeah.
a long time ago. Well, it's called gifts. Now, what we have to do is whatever gifts Allah give us, we try to recognize and improve on. So now I know what some of those gifts are. The things that I deal with would finish everybody else off.
Right.
The other thing is, most of my friends and associates were killed some way during this rebellion. And I'm really actually the only one. I'm the only one alive and out and doing something revolutionary. So that's why when I come, I have a box of this thing. I'm actually raising money, like it's 30 brothers in prison from way back when. They've done, 30 brothers have done a combination of 800 years.
Oh my God.
800 years. We're trying to raise money to get them some legal stuff, anything to try to help get, we can't get them all out, but we could do something. They're all senior citizens.
Right.
I mean, they're all mostly older than me because I was a young guy amongst that period. And they're like in their 70s and 80s. So, also,
How can if people want to help out to your cause, how would they
they
contact
can
you?
just contact me. They call me on my number, 202-904-1152.
In DC?
Yeah, in DC.
Yeah, from that DC.
And they call me, I can instruct them on how to send, they can send anything they want. The Masjid al-Islam, they should send a postal money order, go to the post office, get a postal money order, and not put their return address, put their neighbors who they don't like, put their return address on it. And then call me from some other body's phone and ask me if I got what they sent.
So
But
it's
not to send they can send a personal check if they want to stand the heat, but that's the way they should do it.
so 202-904-1152.
Yes.
Okay. You were just talking about the 1960s. You were obviously around during that time, and you witnessed the lynchings and all the things that was happening to the African Americans at that time. With what's going on right now with, let's say, with Trayvon and Michael Brown, which time do you think is worse? When during the 60s or right now for African
Okay,
Americans?
for the 50s. Technically, I think this is worse. This is worse for several reasons. Okay, now you can see the sheriff's department, they have black people there. You go down to City Hall, that's black people there. So black people, many of them are part of the middle class. But in the 50s and the 60s, we had a black community. We liked each other. There was very little black on black crime. You didn't lock your doors.
That's so true.
All of those things are much more valuable than the jobs we have downtown. Our kids don't remember anything about struggle. And the stuff about Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown, it's been going on all the time. It has never stopped. It has never stopped. I mean, I show my kids old films about it. I can relate the Deadwater case, this case, the watch riot started. That's what it was all about, beating black people and killing black people. And now, I think I don't like the black community the way I liked it then. I don't feel as good in the black community as then, and black people don't feel as good about each other as they did then. We were a people then. We are a race, but we're not a people. But people have common dreams and aspirations. If one get up, have you ever seen any of those movies about, like, say, the Great Debaters or anything?
Yeah.
There was
Okay.
the one with Oprah, right? Was that?
No, it's
Great
Denzel
Debaters.
Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington. Well, she created it. Yeah.
Okay, but do
Yeah.
you remember when they was having the debate, all the black people was around one radio
Right.
in halls and houses?
Yeah.
When they used to have a championship fight, if Joe Louis fought or anybody fought, everybody would be, everything would close down.
Yeah.
If it was happened, say in the 50s or 60s, some black person is gonna come on TV, everybody would be watching it.
Well, now you got to pay $100 for pay-per-view.
Well, what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
who cares? The
Yeah.
stuff they got on is clowns and ignoramuses, and who wants to see that?
Right.
But I'm saying is, we were a people.
Right.
We cared about each other.
Right.
We're not like that now.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So you were talking about, your attitude, the attitude that you have
Yeah.
has been a gift from God, but
Yeah.
also you've been pretty much around three different types of movements. You were from the 1960s, what was going on in the 1960s, and then also what you were doing yourself in the criminal world, and then post-criminal world when you came into Islam. You were in different types of movements, and another one of these gifts, I guess, that you could say that you have from God is that you could tell when somebody was a snitch or things like that. How did you acquire that?
It's longevity and the pattern. Okay, when I first started being around snitches is 1957.
Right.
That's when I go to my first little juvenile school,
Right.
reform school, whatever you call
Right.
it. That's when you're living in the system.
Yeah.
Whether it's just the Army, the Navy, or prison, the systems are all basically the same. Also, the little informers and snitches and brown noses, kiss asses, they have a pattern of behavior. Okay, informers have a pattern of behavior. It's like something happened at the masjid, and one of the brothers had a certain way of behavior, and my wife used to work with child abusers, child abuse. She worked in, and she said that guy is a pedophile. I said, well, you can't say that about the brother. You gotta catch him. You gotta do this, that, and another. Turned out she was absolutely right. You know why? She had seen it so much that she could pick out his behavior. You see what I mean? Okay. Snitches have a behavior pattern. They don't know they have a behavior pattern. If you've seen thousands, you can see their behavior pattern. There's nothing they can do about it. Some of it they can conceal, but you get so sophisticated that you know when they're snitching, when they're trying to conceal it. You can almost talk to them a little bit and figure out how long they've been doing it, And what reasons? Are they doing it for money? Are they doing it because their brother went to jail, they want to get him out? Are they doing it because their parents are back in Iran and they need an operation they can get here in America? You can, a few questions you can figure out almost. This is another gift. It's developed through longevity. Man, to be around a long time, you get to see everything. And pretty soon, you become superior to your oppressor, because the average FBI agent is probably 35, 40 years old. He has no idea of what happened in the 50s or the 60s except what's happened on the record, right?
Right.
I remember in my own mind,
Right.
right? They got so much information, they don't know how to sift it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember everything in my own mind. It's called institutional memory. It's like if you have an institution and the guys that joined the FBI in, say, 1960, by 1975 and 80 and 90, they're retired. When they retire, a whole set of history is forgotten.
Right.
Okay, the new guys have the written record,
Mm-hmm.
and they teach them basically what they can, but that whole knowledge is forgotten. With me, I was born in 1945. I have a clear memory from when Eisenhower became president in the election of 1952. From then on, I can remember when they talk about Dien Bien Phu, that's the great battle in Vietnam when they defeated the French in 1954. I remember it on the radio. I remember it like it was yesterday. I didn't know what the hell they was talking about. I didn't know what red Chinese was. I used to ask my mama. There was a lot of Chinese in San Francisco and Oakland. I said, Mama, what's a red Chinese? All these Chinese is yellow.
Yeah.
But I remember all of those things. See, that means, and I can't teach it to anybody. I can't teach people all those things. But you can cut off, you can go in front of, and you can mix up the system because they don't have the institutional memory. I'll put it this way. It's very important, and I'll close with this. My father was born in 1900 in the South. Okay. So their greatest hero was Jack Johnson. He won a championship in 1910. 50 Negroes was lynched the day he won the championship.
Wow.
Okay. But that's their champion. Okay. I'm the youngest in the family, so I was born in 1945. But that's the same as 1920. The attitude in Arkansas and Texas in those days was almost the same as slavery, almost.
Right.
Now, I listened to my father and all of them because I was a young kid and I stayed around more than that. And so I acquired their attitude and how they treated the white man, how they got what they wanted. They had to be super mind game players in order to survive in that environment.
Right.
So I learned that. Then I also learned you got to be non-threatening. Okay. But I also learned the black militancy of the 1960s
Right.
and how it works. It became a part of me. Also, I'm a Muslim and I learned about martyrdom and I believe in it and the revolution and all of that. Okay, when I make a decision, I can combine all of those assets, and they don't know where I'm coming from because
Right.
they don't know nothing about it. I even this psychological guerrilla warfare has worked so well. I can tell them what I'm going to do, and they still don't believe it. After I do it, I have to tell them what I've done
Right.
because it goes right past them.
All right.
Man, it's a great time. That's what it is.
But last
Okay.
question. A couple of years ago, maybe about 5-6 years ago, you had a CD called Houston. You in that CD I guess you could say you informed people about certain things that had been going on for 20 years.
Yeah,
It was about
30 years.
30 years, 30 years
Almost
now.
30 years.
About, it's, I'm not going to say any names if you want to. It's the curly-headed crew from
Oh, yeah,
Berkeley
okay.
that ended up being in Houston and things like that. And that it's after you had this CD, people were informed about what type of person this is, and he had to move from Houston, and he went into hiding, but now he's coming out and saying, "Oh, me and Imam Musa were best friends," and that CD was
I
a
got call.
misunderstanding.
Yeah, I called
It's-
for him the other day. Get a
Yeah.
call from okay,
So do you
When
still
I-
stand by
when-
the CD?
of 100%.
Okay,
yeah.
so it's you're not best friends with them.
Look, if I was mad at everybody that was a snitch, I wouldn't have anybody to talk to. I'm trying to tell you. Here's what happened.
Right.
Basically, when we opened our masjid in Oakland in 1980, they gave me a parole violation, and I went back. I came out in '81. But in the Bay Area, the only masjid that was open to brothers from Iran was our masjid.
Right.
So
That Dr. Larry Johnny would come
Larry
to.
Johnny, Brother
Yeah.
Mujtaba,
Yeah.
Zarif, all those guys.
Yes.
Pratt Fordman, and all of these guys
Yeah.
came, and anybody else, half of the ambassadors
Right.
from Iran.
Mhm.
When I'm in the diplomatic section and I see, oh, you're ambassador, who you? I'm ambassador to Malaysia now. So here's what happened. When I started traveling around the country, just like brother was saying, I gave a speech here at MSA PSG at 19 such and such, 92.
92.
That was at the end of the thing. Let's say from 1980 all the way up to about when the Imam passed,
89.
89, but a few years there was still a little bit going on. I traveled to each city and I gave talks
Right.
with all the brothers in Angeles. And I had already had decades of experience already.
Right.
So I realized that everybody around, and I'm just going to say 90%, of the African Americans were government agents.
Right. And you also had that experience from
Yes, I had
Algeria. From
Yeah,
Algeria.
I knew who they was. I knew
Yeah.
their behavior. I knew
Right.
this
Their
was
patterns.
my third go around. Their
Yeah.
pattern. I was
Yeah.
already deeply grounded in it. But I couldn't tell everybody, hey man, everybody around. I would sound crazy.
Right.
But all the conferences we had,
They would all be against unity.
there would always be against unity. All the people that used to go to them, they would talk about, they would smile in the Iranians' face, and when we get by ourselves, we gotta hustle these guys, we gotta do this. So I said, I don't want to have nothing to do with that. And some of the ones that we were talking about recently, they would actually talk about the ulama, stupid, so what I told
The curly-headed crew.
Curly-headed crew,
Yeah.
Curly-headed crew.
Yeah.
Remember, I've already known those people. When I said this in 2007, I already know them from 1987
Right.
or 1988.
They started coming to your mosque in Oakland,
Yeah, they were
right?
students at Berkeley. So
Yeah.
I know them, let's
Yeah.
say 20, 25 years.
Around
already.
Dr. Algar.
Dr. Algar.
Right.
Right now, I got Dr. Algar's number from the same guy we're talking about
Right.
last week.
Yeah.
But
Trying to get around ball players and put their pictures on
get around
Facebook.
ball players,
Yeah.
take their picture,
Yeah.
and ruin.
And actually,
Ruin.
and also,
ruin.
right. Absolutely.
Have
Absolutely.
them taking positions
Right.
that they don't take.
Right.
Pretty soon, one of our friends was invited all over. They used to call me, can you make an appointment for me with brother so-and-so to come speak? Yeah, I'll do that. All of them, that same curly-headed crew, is managing our friends' money, and they steal all of this money.
Yeah.
The same bums,
Yeah.
and
And
the same crew.
right. Absolutely. And also trying to, take pictures with marjas and trying to show off on that and stuff like
Here's,
that.
here's what I told her.
Yeah.
I said, look, even now, when I talk with big-time Iranians, they don't tell me nothing, and I don't let them tell me nothing. I never
Right.
did. You ask any of the old-time brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to know any of your business. It's not my business. I'm an American. So everything I'll pick up, I'll perceive it, but I don't want you to tell me nothing about none of your business.
Right.
That's the Iranian business. That's not the way the other guys are. They always want to get who's doing this, who's doing that, this marriage, that marriage.
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
Yeah.
That's why they're snitches.
Yeah.
They're snitches, they're still snitches. But us pulling the cover on them
Yeah.
was good and healthy.
Yeah.
But I can't pull the covers on everybody because
That's what you'd spend all your time
I
on.
spend all my time on that.
Instead
I
of-
already told them the rule.
Yeah.
The basic rules, if they're American and they're sitting around, I said, and watching you and moving where you move and staying in your institution, I said, if they love the revolution, they'll go in the black community, develop institutions, and make friends for you.
Yeah.
So you'll have a place to come and talk to. I said, none of them do that.
Well, what's funny is if they like black people so much, why would they make comments like, "You can't melt a black girl on me"? You know, what
Yeah,
kind of
that's
like,
what
what kind of
that's
black person
exactly
says stuff
what-
like that?
I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
This person,
Yeah.
the same. See, that's a long story about colors, skin tone, and hair texture. These people have it bad.
Because their mom's not black.
No, one of them's father, his mama's black, his fat daddy's Japanese.
Oh, the mom is black. Okay.
Mama's black,
Okay.
daddy's Japanese.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the
Okay,
opposite. Yeah.
no. Okay, you can tell by the hair texture
Yeah.
and the look.
Yeah.
The other curly-headed crew, their parents are either both light-skinned or one parent is white and one is black.
Yeah.
Okay, now, one of the members of the curly-headed crew, the one that's the girl, but I'll leave her out, I'll take her out of the curly-headed crew. This other curly-headed crew, they believe in the old stereotypes. Big lips, wide noses, round fingers are dumb. Darker you are, the dumber you are. They believe
Right.
it. They believe it. The lighter you are, the smarter you are. The closer to they believe it. I mean, they believe. I'm telling you, they believe it.
Right.
So they can't explain me. It's just all this dark. They I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
And they try to get around it, but they can't get around it.
Right.
You know. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, to us, we used to have a belief, we don't have it anymore, that the mixed race blacks were weaker because they didn't face the challenges we did.
They could pass.
They could pass. They couldn't fight as hard. They didn't have to fight. See, we had to fight. Don't nobody give us nothing. If you're a darky, you gotta work. No, you work for everything.
Yeah.
You work for it. Don't nobody give you nothing. Okay, they give them a certain status and they believe it.
Hmm.
Okay, nowadays it's not as common as before, but they still carry it.
Yeah.
And some of the other blacks still carry it too. They use the term, you've seen it, good hair and bad hair.
Hmm.
Good hair is what you guys got, bad hair is what I have. They use it. They believe in that. And people, when black people, women have babies now, the baby's hair is good. They hope it's, I hope it stays this way. I was telling my wife about Fatima. Fatima had Indian hair up to the time she was about 2. I said, it's gonna take a turn, don't worry. You know, I said, it's gonna take a turn. And lo and behold, when she was 3 and 4, her hair started getting, and she would say, your hair is like your daddy's hair, because hair, she's one of them yellow niggas that have a good hair. And I mean, I don't say it like that. She's light-skinned. And they believe
Yeah.
this. Look, I have to
You have a
educate-
complex. It's a complex.
No, but it's not it's
It's a complex.
it's different. In the black days, the light-skinned Negroes really worked hard, they would be blacker than black. I mean, you know, because they knew what had happened when they became conscious. That was a period in black history, like in the 60s.
Kind of like Malcolm
in the
X
70s.
because he was really
Yeah.
light skinned. Yeah.
But Malcolm X went, man, he's Detroit red. He's not high yellow. He's just a little light.
Yeah.
But he's not
But
high
his mom would pass.
Yeah.
She would get jobs that white people would.
Sure,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But that's his mother, not him.
Yeah.
He would never pass. He's
Yeah.
not high yellow. Remember, that we got
Yeah.
different specific shades.
That's true.
Octoroons, they're 1/8 black. They're white. You couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Almost, except we could tell the difference. We'd look at the back of their hair a little bit, look around the eyes, and know. We could tell the octoroon. We wouldn't tell on them. But we could tell, yeah, you a nigga just like me. We wouldn't tell them. But we know what to look for. You know, white people would never know. They're white, okay.
Yeah.
So then they have mulattoes, just like, they might be half and half. They're very light-skinned, they might have wavy hair and what have you. And so, what a person we're talking about is almost a mulatto. He's like, 50-50, they curly hair and all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, they have red bone.
Red Bull.
Red bone is
It's the greatest.
it's pretty good. High yellow.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, I'll give you a example. Man, this is the funniest thing in the world.
I used to remember this.
You remember Ahmed Hoover?
Yes.
Ahmed Hoover is a good friend of mine. Oh my
Right.
goodness. We was in Iran and maybe it was 89 or 91, something like that. And we were very good friends. His son is a journalist. He's a
Right.
big journalist. Now, his wife is Egyptian.
Yes.
Okay, so his son, when we was talking, he said, well, he was talking to me personally because I'm black, I have that identity. You know, he has nice wavy hair and very, remember his mother's Egyptian, so he's fine.
Yeah.
So I just tells him off the cuff, oh, that ain't nothing. I say, if you was with us, you'd just be high yellow. And I just did. He was, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
So I told him that if he was in America, it wouldn't be no problem. He's in Switzerland and the white folks. I said, man, if you was in America, you'd just be high yellow. So he goes to his father, he says, Baba, I'm high yellow. I guess Dr. Ahmed Hoover, I was looking, he said, what the hell, what did you tell the boy? What's wrong with him?
Oh my God, that's funny. Sorry.
Now, Dr. Hoover was a very good man. When he spoke in our masjid in D.C.,
Right.
D.C. at that time was packed black. He said, man, this is like
95.
Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm.
And to see a blonde-headed Swiss German speaking in our masjid, he had a good time.
Right. I bet.
And the people used to say, I bet he was Hitler Youth. I said, I bet he was too. You know,
Well,
because-
everybody had to be.
Yeah, he,
Fine, yeah.
I believe at his age.
But he didn't mind though.
No, I said, hey man, this guy, I bet you he was Hitler. You see the way when he get into his dialogue? But anyway, the question of snitches and informers is almost a mute question. What
Right.
we should do is stay focused on what we have to do. You notice what we talked about tonight?
Right.
What we have to do.
The attitude.
The attitude,
Yeah.
you're going to have so many stooges and snitches. If you live a good life and you do right, never talk to anybody about anything illegal, and they don't have nothing they can do. That's
Yeah.
why they have to treat me the way they do. They have to just concoct little dumb stuff.
Like, yeah. Oh yeah. We've always been friends. Who's just joking about
Yeah.
that?
So
Houston
anyway-
City.
So anyway,
Yeah.
the positive attitude, that's a gift from God, but you learn how to develop optimism. You make the smallest thing of all the big things that goes, and you make the littlest thing out of the things that come your way. And remember that if Allah haven't wrote it for you, it ain't gonna hit you. And whatever He got coming to you, it ain't gonna miss you.
Right.
And so optimism. We used to have a saying, between the optimist and the pessimist, between the Twix the skull, the optimist sees the donut, the pessimist sees the hole.
The whole, yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So it's how you look at it.
Mhm.
You can look at it, man, I am oppressed. If I look at what happened to me in the last, say, 3 months, from their perspective, I would be depressed, sad, and I would be afraid.
All right.
But I look at it like optimistic. Hey, man, look what they did for me.
Mhm.
Look how they helped the movement,
Right.
you know.
Or you got a whole bunch of publicity that you could have never
Publicity,
got.
good publicity, and they can't do nothing to me now
Yeah.
because they saw how the police and the snitches work together.
Right.
So we're all fine. So
Right.
I thank you very much for this wonderful program, and we salute this honorable flag here. Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah.
All right. Well,
And look at here, we're blessed. Look at here. This means more. The question you asked, why is Iran doing so well? And everybody else don't have no problems, and they're not doing any good.
yeah, it's because of Walayat Faqih.
Velayat Faqih.
Right.
1 quote 3 answer. Velayat Faqih.
Right.
The leadership of the just jurisprudence.
Just look around, just the neighbors of Iran. You know, even some of these countries, let's say Afghanistan, has the same culture.
Yeah.
You know, but just compare.
And they fight. They're not scared of cats
Right.
either.
Yeah.
They don't. They got.
But the
bad
only difference,
leadership.
the only difference is Walayat
Velayat
Faqih.
Faqih.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Velayat Faqih.
Thank you for your time. We just wanted to ask you a couple questions, but also say on September 17th, 2014, you haven't changed your mind about the Houston City from 08 or 09. We just
Oh
wanted to.
no! Not only that. Remember,
It's you believe it more now.
3 years ago,
Yeah.
I was in Iran and I gave a thing on Press TV with
Right.
Sister Marcy. It was September the 18th, early in the morning. And I
Yeah.
was talking about that there's going to be a change in America. September the 17th was the Wall Street Day. That's when the Wall Street Occupy movement started, technically,
Right.
on September the 17th. That, it all happened. Hey,
Right.
man, this is the anniversary of the Wall Street.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the anniversary.
It's also Constitution Day.
We're on a roll, man.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Oh, el gusto es mío. The pleasure is mine.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go back and get a little salad, I think.
Oh,
QC.